like to introduce you to Dave Allen and Garry Schleifer, who are both board members, and they're going to give us some interesting information today. So thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you, Harry. It's really my pleasure to have a conversation with Garry Schleifer today. I can't remember where I first came across Garry, but it was well before he joined GCA and became a sponsor and became a very, very active member. But I was aware of some of the work he was doing on the web and was really impressed by his commitment, not only to his path, but also knowing exactly what it was he wanted to do. And it's been really exciting to watch his evolution over the last several years. Always super confident, always super, super generous in helping coaches and growing the industry. Has the premier coaching publication that is now in its, what year, Garry?
Okay, you ready? 18th year of publication.
Whoa! Yay! So,
sorry, hold on. Oh,
well deserved. Not only does he publish the magazine, but it's also a great opportunity for those of you who write and write well to send a proposal. He sends a notification to the GCA members every quarter, letting you know what the next issue is.
Reminds me to email Arnie. Thank you.
And so, super huge supporter of the GCA and coaches in general, and creative, and just a heck of a guy. Genuine, fun to be around, and really, really all around mensch. So, Garry, we're here to talk about your new project, and
right.
Tell us the name of the project and a little bit about what it is.
Okay, in light of the last conference, I just have to take a moment to take all that in because it's so, yeah, hold on a second. It's always interesting being on the receiving end of someone else's observation of yourself.
Mm.
And I just go through my life like me, and I don't always get the opportunity to get such awesome reflections. So thank you.
My pleasure. Well deserved.
And so let's talk about the project. Okay, so I'm excited about this because I don't know, but if you guys know, but I've had several multi-million-dollar businesses back in the day. I was in the corporate world, and there was something that just didn't fit for me in there. And I said, you know what? A friend had an opportunity. I jumped in, and I kicked him out a year later because the guy just couldn't stay to the program. And I built that into a multi-million-dollar business. And I thought I was going to be having this thing called freedom. And it's probably the last thing you get when you're an entrepreneur. And so for the last, 15 years, I made it my mission to make myself financially free, location free, and time free. And so my project is a result of that because Marcy Nelson Garrison, another person that's been running her business, Coaching Toys, for 18 years. We have the same birthday. And she said to me, you've got to tell people how you've gone about doing this or what your journey is. So I call it the overall thing is called Dare to Be Free. So the mission is to bring freedom back into our conversations. And by us, I mean entrepreneurs, coaches, just as you said, Dave, mensch. I don't know if anybody knows the plural of mensch, if it's menches or I don't know. I don't even want to go there. And the program I'm doing right now as part of that is called Free Time Boot Camp. And it's Free Time Boot Camp for entrepreneurs, which we all are. But I'm putting in a proposal for the conference, and it's going to be Free Time Boot Camp for coaches. So I'm looking forward to getting feedback as a result of this call as to what you want to see in that presentation that will serve you personally. So you've got my email. You can ping me, call me, probably scruff and grinder me too if you know my handle, but only place you could say this, right?
Right. And what do you do with your free time, right?
Yeah,
We'll
exactly.
get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. I think that was a dead giveaway.
So just before we go on, Gary, I'm curious, how many of you on the call today became coaches in part because you wanted more freedom? Raise your hand. More freedom in one way or another. So maybe more freedom about the gigs you take, more freedom in the work that you do, more freedom in time. And so freedom is, when I talk to other coaches, one of the primary drivers. But what do you mean when you mean freedom, Gary? And
yeah,
you talk about free time, and
yep.
then there's another piece of that.
The tagline for the program, Free Time Bootcamp, is creating more free time so you can have more me time. And so the distinction actually, Dave, is between what is free time and what's me time. To me, free time is if you could get an hour a week more, what would you do with it? And most people would be like, I'd catch up on emails. They're usually work related things. If you're lucky, what I do sometimes is I go have a nap, or I've recommitted to reading X amount of pages read X amount of pages every day. Because I've heard great leaders do a lot of reading and I'm behind on my reading then. And, that sort of thing. So, or the other thing I do is strategic stuff. Like I get to go back to the 30,000 foot level of my business, like, like David's doing with his board. Yeah, I've got a board over here, David. Same thing going on. I've planned out all of 2020 for my program already. That's how crazy it's getting. So there's that. And then if you're able to create more than an hour of free time, or enough free time that you've got all that, not all of it, because you know what, on the day we die, our inbox is still going to be getting emails. There's nothing you can do about it. It's a never ending cycle of stuff. But if you were able to actually get an excess of free time, you could have some me time. And that would be things like, call up a friend, go for a coffee. Like, if I had more free time, which I'm working on, Matt and I could get together a little easier, but he's downtown and I'm in Mississauga. So, there's a bit of a distance challenge. But me time is more about just for yourself. And for me time, as an example, is my husband owns a hair salon and he has Sunday and Monday off. And so for me time is I don't work, or I don't plan work for Sunday or Monday. Those are my me day, or not in case we day times. But I also top it off with a Thursday every other week where I go visit my mom. She lives 2 hours away, East Belleville, Matt, you know the area. And I go visit her. Since my dad passed, she has regular stuff that she's learning how to do for herself. And that wouldn't be possible if I hadn't gone on my mission to have more freedom, free time, and me time.
Well, Gary, I'm getting the distinction between free time and me time, but I'm curious why it is that when we as entrepreneurs, coaches have free time, we don't, without some focus or commitment, take me time. What gets in the way of that?
Hey, I did market research. I did interviews with 31 people back in October, November last year. And I'll tell you, the majority of the people, what stopped them was guilt. They felt that they weren't allowed to have it. And if they did take it, what was suffering, who was not getting paid attention to, what else was not getting done. It was like this little looking over your shoulder going, okay, I'm taking free time and waiting for some axe to fall or something, right? Like, it's wrong almost to have free time. And another reason people don't do it is because there's this, and I've done it. This is my biggest thing, is when I get ready to go away, there's more work ahead of having free time if you have more than one day. And then there's a bucket load of shit when you come back. So what I do is in my boot camp is I teach people how to prepare for and take guilt-free free time in a way that over time, you don't have to work overtime to get ready to go, and you don't have to work overtime when you get back. So you actually get to go into your free time without guilt and then come back to a relatively peaceful environment.
Wow.
I think one of the things that people don't know about me is, and I know it's been how many years and I've been a part of the GCA, but I have an innate ability around systems. So what I've done is I've tapped into the systems. The thing is, I intuitively know systems. They just operate. I just create them. I start doing something, I write a procedure, then I pass it off to somebody on my team to train them and get them to work on it. But what I didn't realize, and that's where my friend Marcy helped me, is it's one of those abilities, those skills that I have that aren't as, well, we know they're not fun for a lot of people. So what I do is I help make these systems that give you free time and me time a lot more fun and easy. They really are easy. It's so easy to get free time and me time. We just, I don't know, we feel like we have to do everything ourselves, and it's just not true.
So, I'm not actually hearing it, but I think I'm hearing it's like easy can't be. Like I've tried this, that, the other, and I still feel overwhelmed. I still feel behind. I still feel like there's always more to do.
Yeah.
So there are a number of components that came out of your research. We were talking about this the other day when we did some preparation for the call, of the things that consume a lot of time and that pull people away from having free time. So do you want to talk a little bit about those, and then maybe at the end of just giving a broad overview of those ideas, look at one and a system that might be associated with that.
Okay, I'll be careful because I've been accused of going down a rabbit hole and getting way too granular. So pull me back if I go too far.
I will.
Because I love my systems.
Yeah.
One of the things that people really wanted to get handled were one of the things was, there's a couple. There's emails, there's calendars, and there's documents. And I don't just teach the systems and show the systems and hold people's hand through the systems, but I also help them with the psychological aspect of getting used to doing things for a different purpose other than to just get them done. So by that, I mean, I'll give you an example. It's like bookkeeping. I know that my bookkeeper is going to get the documents, and then my accountant's going to get the documents, and stuff's going to get done. But I don't do all the work anymore. I've created a procedure. I get other people to do certain parts. I get people to send their bills on time. This isn't necessarily in order. And then I get it shipped off. I decided mentally, I went up and I said, okay, I'm not here to make money doing bookkeeping. I'm here to make money delivering programs like coaching, free time boot camp, that sort of thing. So psychologically, I've prepared myself. I've committed to that's what's more important, and these other things. So it's like a filter and get these things out of the way. I mean, another really quick and easy thing is emails. Oh my God, I have a client, and he's kind of proud yet guilty-ish about, it's like he's proud to show me that he's ashamed that he has over 25,000 emails in his inbox unread. So it's, yeah, exactly, Ira. Oi. So these are the kind of simple things that when you put it into perspective and everybody kind of gets on the same page, especially during, and I know I'm talking about my program, but just in life, is just to get on the same page about your emails and say, okay, what's really important here? Like, are you spending all your time thinking there's this place in the back of your head where you're storing that you need to get all these emails done? I set a path it's funny because I went on a path to say, okay, I'm giving away my inbox to somebody to handle. By the time I got it ready for somebody to handle, I showed it to my VA and she went, what the fuck do you need me for? I had like 10 emails in the inbox. Everything else was filtered. I make a regular habit of unsubscribing from things that don't matter and replying as quickly as I can to the ones that do, and then get them the hell out of the way and move on. And I don't know, it's just, again, that's me in systems. And that's what I feel I'm here to, one of the things I feel I'm here to teach is how to help people clear that. And, you know, picture the inbox. Your inbox is just one of those things in your business. I mean, there's your calendar. I used to be so, like, I didn't want anybody to have any access to my calendar. I didn't want anybody to see it. I guarded my free time like it was my, like no kidding, right? The interesting thing happened when I started to let go of that superstructure against it. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by David, but David, I'll help you. Yes, call me. We'll have a session anyway. I'll walk you through what I do. And the less I held on to it, the more freedom I actually have around my calendar, because I now have systems in place. I use Calendly, and it says, oh, okay, Gary, you can't be booked on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, because, well, Friday's just a day to catch up. Saturday is weekend with hubby. Sunday, Monday, same thing. So I block it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday between 9 and 5. Now, I gladly give away my schedule if I feel you're qualified and you've determined what we're going to spend our time doing, right? So there's actually freedom in letting go of things, freedom of letting go of emails. Like it's this big weight off your shoulder. No, see, I told you I'd go down a rabbit hole and you didn't stop me.
No, actually, this is a great conversation because a couple of things. One, when I was flying from Chicago to Newark on Monday, I was sitting behind a guy reading the Financial Times, alternate looking at his iPad, and he opened up his email 3 or 4 times during the call, and he just went swipe, 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 swipe. He didn't even much more than just read the title and who it was from, and I'm going, oh my God, how can you possibly do that without actually opening it up and reading it? He was just like, they were gone.
Yeah.
And so, getting a handle on it. But, one of the other things I'm aware of with the calendar option is that you've also reduced your email as well. Somebody wants to schedule a meeting with you, you decide yes or no, and then you send them to the scheduling option. You don't go back and forth. It's like, well, no, I can't do Thursday, but I could do next Tuesday.
Oh yeah, that was a big time waster all the time. That was crazy. That was great. And it worked even today. I was calling one of my advertisers for choice, and we've been playing phone tag. Last time he caught me, I was at the gym. Why did I answer the phone when I was at the gym? I don't know, but I did. I was on the treadmill. I thought, what the heck? Exactly, right, Matt? Yeah. And then I called him back, wasn't available, and I just sent an email and said, boom, let's have a virtual coffee, and here's my link to my schedule. And sure enough, like within 5 minutes, he answered the email, booked it. We're going to have a coffee. I'm not worried about it anymore. Now I'm not feeling like I'm stuck in this game of tag. A lot of the things that I've learned and that I teach are about not getting caught up in the shoulda, woulda, couldas and letting go of things. Like, just let go. I don't understand. I still haven't figured out, because it isn't what the client wanted with regards to 25,000 emails, but I'd still like to get into the head of people that have that and just find out, like, that'd be a great market research thing. So, why is that important to have to you? I mean, in my mind, I think it's like when I have sales prospects, when you have coaching prospects, right? It's like you get to say, yeah, I've got 5 or 10 people interested in coaching. And then you say, how many people are you coaching? Well, none. I remember back in the day when that was me. And my coach said to me, so why aren't you contacting these people? And I realized it was a big badge of honor to have all these prospects versus actually having clients, So I stressed about not having revenue and clients, but I was proud of this. It's weird.
Prospects. Well, it's what we choose to measure, right? So,
right.
And in a lot of cases, my guess is, people with 25,000 unread emails probably have 25 boxes of receipts and statements and everything squirreled away someplace.
Quite possibly. There's, one of the things that we talk about in the Free Time Bootcamp is integrity. Where are you out of integrity? And, and you tapped on a good one. I was in that place with regards to my finances about 8 years ago, which is one of the things that kickstarted me into a big system around bookkeeping and accounting. And now both Patrick's company and my company books are over to the bookkeeper monthly by about the 10th business day of the month. And we have to do quarterly tax returns. So those are done on time now. We're on time with the federal and provincial tax returns, all that sort of stuff. Like, just think of that cascade of things that are pressuring you, and that you're if you break it down and work backwards and say, okay, like, here's a system for bookkeeping, get it done. Here's, we sit around the kitchen table and we, sort invoices and match them once in a while, but it takes a lot less time than it used to. And it's so much easier. Have a glass of wine, fool around with some receipts. It's not exactly a romantic evening, but it's functional.
Well, it's kind of interesting. You said that you do it together, which is, for most of us, this is a horrible task. And so you've kind of made it somewhat better. You're at least doing the same horrible task together with a glass of wine.
Okay, but there's a point of order, Your Honor. He still doesn't think it's fun.
Okay.
I think it's fun because that's just what I do. So that's one of the things that makes me weird, but also makes me good at what I do with regards to systems, free time boot camp, and that sort of thing.
So if I'm looking at my business and I'm trying to figure out what it is that's keeping me from free time that gives me me time, then, what do I start looking for?
My key, great question, thank you. But my key and my instruction to people in my course, even in the webinars I do, look for one thing that you do either weekly or monthly that takes about an hour and that you can do without even thinking, and start documenting that process. I don't care how you do it. Do a video if it's technological, start a Google Doc, just start documenting it with the intention of giving it away. Granted, you'll spend a bit of time getting it ready. You will test your procedure. You'll have to find someone to train and make them accountable. But by the time you're done, you'll have at least an hour, whatever it took, an hour a week or a month of free time. Interesting outcome for me is when that happens, there's two reasons I start looking for more. One is I get excited when I give something to somebody else who's an expert and better at what I'm trying to do than I am, like customer service, Facebook posts, all that sort of stuff, right? Now somebody else is doing it. I'm excited to look at it because I've gained that hour. I've now gone to the 30,000 foot level and said, oh, okay, now we've done that over here. What if we did this over here? And oh, look, now that matches with this. Okay, I'll get that person to do this and that person to do that. And all of a sudden I'm thinking of more free time because I want to do something else. I'm more excited about the big picture stuff and the program delivery than I am about the details. Don't get me wrong. I love the details, which is actually my downfall. I have to constantly step away from that. And I think a lot of people suffer from that same thing. They'd rather, not rather, but they feel the things that they can take care of right immediately are more important than the things that'll get them in front of an audience.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I'm really noticing about what you just said is you don't start with the big thing. You don't tackle the inbox first, or you don't tackle marketing tasks. You tackle something that gives you an hour a week or a month. Mm-hmm. And so you get the positive reinforcement, you do the research. When you and I spoke the other day, I told you that one of the things I do, I don't have a personal assistant yet. but I've got a tool that I use for tracking tasks called Noseby, and it has a context in it, and I can assign a multiple context. And one of those contexts that I assign frequently is personal assistant. So I've been collecting this list of tasks over time that, I can search everything that I listed as personal assistant. So then I can start looking, it's like, okay, so these things I can feel comfortable giving away because, I've looked at it over time and consistently they come up as something I can give away.
That's awesome. What's the software? You told me about the story. You never told me the software.
It's called Noseby, Nozbe.
I will look it up. These are the kind of things that I gather and then I turn around and share with my community. Thank you.
Yeah, let me send you a link because they also have an affiliate program. So
awesome. Yes. Do it by email instead of Slack.
okay, so we'll help each other. So yeah.
There we go.
Okay. So how many times does it take for someone to really get into the mode of getting a month or getting an hour a month or an hour a week until they really are ready to commit to tackling something a little bit bigger?
Good question. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to admit I made that major mistake, which is why I do it the opposite way now. That bookkeeping story I told you, oh my God, I was so far behind. I was years behind, and I hired somebody to come and help me do the work. It took me almost a year to get. But still, I chipped away at it and chipped away at it until it got to where it is right now, right? And so, but back to your question, just sorry, I zoomed. Just restate it the same way. I just zoomed out of that one mentally.
So, how many times do I have to get positive reinforcement with an hour a month or an hour a week?
Oh, got it.
Big and juicy that gives me more me time.
Okay, that's kind of a double-edged sword, because if you decide what you want to do with your free time and you're more committed to that than you are to your circumstance, I'm sure we've told our clients this many times.
Yes.
Just what do you want to do with that free time? What do you want to do with that me time? Okay. So I'll give you, for example, you're committed to having a personal assistant.
Yeah.
So having that in your mind, doesn't matter what's going on. You go, oh my God, there's another thing for my personal assistant. You've got a plan and a purpose for your free time. Well, actually, you have a structure that will give you the free time. And then if you add on top of that a commitment to what you're going to do with your free time, like, I don't know, maybe wine tasting or right? I'm just guessing. Then you compound those two things. Like, your personal assistant thing is because you committed to something you want to do with your free time. And I don't know what that is, but that's what it is. If your commitment can be stronger than what you're doing right now, then you're way ahead of the game. My example is I go away to Mexico for 2.5 months and I work and play down there, right? But I still work, but it's in a much nicer environment, like not, Bernie, Florida. I love it. Good example. But it's more than that. I want to have destination retreats. So the more free time I can have and the more stuff I can give away to my team, and the team keeps growing all the time because I keep thinking of new things I want to give away, because I'm committed to having these destination retreats, because my me time is about traveling. I want to travel. I'm location free. I can work from anywhere, right? I maybe take a couple of copies of Choice Magazine with me, but but that's really all I need. I need a phone. I like a pen and paper and a computer, and I can work from anywhere. So I've got the location thing handled. I could use a bit more financial freedom, and we're working on that. And we buy lottery tickets every week just as an insurance policy. And then the time. So here's the commitment. I'm more committed to having free time than working. And so as I was building this program, it kept chopping away at my free time. My biggest concern was creating a program about free time was going to take away my free time. but my commitment to having free time was more important. And so every time stuff came up that started to take up my free time, I started to look for a way to give it away. So that's how I help people get to that point. Figure out what your why is, and the rest will fall in place.
Right. So in a minute, I want to open it up for some questions and what have you, give you a chance to do a little bit of market research. But I have one last question, and we didn't talk about this, but I'm really curious.
A surprise question.
Listening to you talk. So one of the things about coaches, about entrepreneurs, is that frequently what we do is coming from a place of feeling like this is more than a job, that it may be a calling, it may be a mission, that you may actually have something that you want to make happen in the world or bring to the world. And so how do you get out of the trap of being so committed to the mission or the calling or whatever you want to call it, that you have, free time and eventually me time?
Oh, wow. Okay, so and thank you for the question, because for me, this really is my mission. Freedom, I really get it. Everything, I've been working on this since last October. Not once did I regret any piece of the work, the learning, what some might perceive as struggle, anything. I'm just on fire. So when you ask that question, that to me resonates more as the commitment. When you're in your, oh my God, I got the hairs going up on my skin here. When you've got such a commitment and such a passion for what your commitment or your mission is, nothing will get in your way. So it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're that committed to that, you'll get rid of all the stuff that gets in the way. I think it's a more complicated question than just a simple do this or do that. But I'm feeling so in my own skin in the work that I'm doing now,
right?
Because it's so natural for me, and I have to walk the talk of having free time.
Well, and you also said that one of the reasons you're doing this is you want people to play with.
Oh, I forgot about that one. So the destination retreats are about you guys all having free time so that we can all go someplace together and have fun. Okay, so it won't be me time, but it'll be we time. One of my one of the pictures that drives me, that just inspires me, is a whole bunch of us on the big island of Hawaii doing stuff, whether that be going to the volcanoes, swimming. A friend of mine, I want to have her come, and she's I don't know what you call her, a tour guide, but specialist in swimming with whales and dolphins. So she guides us and we do all that. Oh, somebody's got a bucket list item, Matt. And that's the other thing I see, and I'm keep learning too, is what I want to know from you guys, and feel free to email me or text me or whatever. What's a bucket list item that's kind of top of mind right now? Because as I start to develop these destination retreats and these things, they're going to be around bucket list items. Because I figured out, somebody pointed out, sounds to me, Garry, like you're trying to find a way to fulfill a bucket list item. Well, why not ask everybody for that? So there's a market research question right there. Because so part of this conversation too, if anybody wants to know how I evolved and what I'm doing with all this work functionally, like Dare to be Free is the mantra, okay? And I can just see a license plate, Dare, number 2, little b, capital FREE, license plate, wait for it, it's coming. And it's Dare to be Free is the whole thing about getting to a destination retreat. Then there's the mastermind. I'm going to have like a 6 to 8 month mastermind where we're going to work together so you can have the guilt-free time to go on a destination retreat. And Free Time Bootcamp is a 6-week course to really just lay the groundwork, right? And to get us going. So if anybody wants to know about like the ins and outs of creating an online program and all that sort of stuff, or at least my experience of it, or share your own, I'd love to hear about it. And I don't think I answered the question again. Dave, you always get me and I just start going off on another tangent.
That's okay. I think there's, you know, I'm not sure there actually is an answer to it, because I think, you know, part of it is when you're doing something that you really comes from a passion place, a commitment place, that your natural inclination is to focus on doing nothing else. And I believe what your commitment is to help, you know, entrepreneurs see that focusing 100% of your time and effort on that one thing isn't necessarily the most productive way you can approach it.
Oh, thank you. I like to say, you know, it's like driving a car, and I think probably all of us have driven a car at one point or another. It's the gas and the brake, and far too often we've got our pedal on the gas too much. Yeah. And even if you just let off on the gas, let alone putting on the brake, that's what free time is to me. It's about putting the gas on for the fun stuff and letting go sometimes just to stop and hit the brakes and go, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I working so hard? What am I missing? Kind of thing, right? And then that's where I can kind of fit in when it comes to location, financial, and time freedom.
All right. Great. Well, should we, what do you want to know in terms of your market research? And let's, you know, have everybody unmute and, you know, give you some feedback.
Well, so what I'm looking for is I want to know what you would do with free time, 1 hour of free time, and what you would do with me time, whether that be an hour a day or whatever. And then what's at least one bucket list item that comes to mind as a result of hearing our conversation today? And it doesn't have to be destination related. Just so happens that that's what I'm going to do. And I'm also taking notes because I don't know how to get that other than the screenshot I just took.
Well, I'd just like to say, first of all, that I'm really excited that you're going to be presenting this at the conference next year. I think it's really important for all of us, and it's going to add a lot of value to the conference. All of us, as you say, when we set up our own businesses, for so many of us, it is because we want to create that life that we want for ourselves, rather than being committed to the long hours of being in employment that we may have had before. So I think it's absolutely fantastic. And something I certainly believe is really, really important. In answer to your question, the 1 hour of free time, one thing I still struggle with, and I'm pretty good at guarding my free time, is getting out for a run. And that's one of those things that'll slip and slip throughout the day, and it'll get too late and I'm really tired at the end of the day. So that's one thing that slips for me.
Got it. Thank you. And I want to say to Jeff, you just brought up a really good point. Jeff said, I'd love to see your favorite tools list before the conference. Yes, and what I'm going to do, I've made a note here, is I'm going to invite you guys to the closed Facebook group. I'm going to be doing tools I use videos, and that's why when Dave pointed out the Noseby, that kind of thing, I'm going to research it, do videos on it, see how it fits into free time boot camp and also the presentation. So yes, yes, and yes.
So somebody else, what would you do with free time, me time, bucket list type thing? David.
I'll go. So me time, free time would be, I have 2 little fur babies that, believe it or not, are pretty quiet right now. And so it would be to spend more time with them, so that they're not just there watching me sleep or watching me work while they sleep. And my bucket list item is I want to do a road trip around the perimeter of Ireland.
Wow.
Sweet.
All I think of is Emerald Isle, right? Is that what they call it?
Yep, exactly.
I want
Matt,
to do a Scotch tasting tour of single
Yeah.
malt
I
scotches
love Scott.
in Scotland. That's one of mine.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
we can combine those two. I think.
That's a very cool.
We'll-
So
Yeah.
you need to come
talk.
to Europe with this, Gary. You need to take it to Europe.
Hello, that's a destination.
good.
I said Hawaii was one of the ideas I had.
Matt, you had your hand up as well. So do you want to jump in?
Yeah. So for more free time, oh God, for more free time, I think I would, it doesn't have to be productive, but I think I would need it to be at this point in my career, sitting down and reevaluating where I am on my critical path. So instead of working on tasks endlessly, like reviewing my actual schedule and be like, okay, so what's next? Revising it so then that way it makes the list shorter, so everything is less overwhelming. I have like sticky notes all over my desk right now. It's nuts. So I would start with that, but more me time would be sleep. I do not get enough sleep, so anything to kind of give myself a little bit of extra time at the end of the day where I can turn off my cell phone, turn off my emails, and be like, all right, my coaching business is done.
Yep.
I need sleep. And then bucket list item, I went to Japan several summers ago, which was incredible. So I really want to go to Thailand. And I know that that is so specific, but I've heard so many things about how Thailand is like very beautiful, very spiritual, and just, I don't know. It's right up there for me. But swimming with dolphins is also pretty awesome. So,
why can't we do that in Thailand?
quite honestly.
Yep. And what other adventures are available in Thailand, right? So awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Of course.
Somebody else have some notion of what you would do with free time, me time? What's on your bucket list?
I tend to make the distinction, if I go forward, between me time, free time is basically when my to-dos and my urgent stuff is kind of done, and then I now work on something that's more open-ended and something that I enjoy. So that's kind of my free time stuff. But true me time is much more when I take a walk, when I get outside, when I do something that removes me from the house and from the workplace itself. That almost always feels much more liberating and free. And in terms of the bucket list item, I've always wanted to take the Pembrokeshire coastline, which I understand is like a week-long trek, but you can walk the entirety of the Pembrokeshire coastline in England. And it's supposed to be quite a spectacular walk. And I'm actually very curious about that.
Okay, there's 3 for the United Kingdom.
I'm loving you guys tonight. You're making me feel loved because I've got cold and grey, wet weather over here
In Manchester.
Yes, in Manchester.
We'll come in the spring or summer with that.
It's like this all the time.
It's like Hamburg in Germany. It sounds the same. It's always like rainy and you know, when you watch Coronation Street, which is supposed to be a reiteration of Manchester, it's always sunny. I don't get it.
Yeah. It's the wonders of television, isn't it?
So maybe a couple more. Free time, me time, bucket list.
I'll jump in on it. So I think for me time is figuring out what I want to do in the next 10 years. I've had 3 really successful different careers that I didn't have to feel like that were difficult to achieve, and I've done them to a place where it's now, what do I want to do as I retire? So for me, it's the me time is what new career path, discovery, engagement I want to be involved in. My free time is really easy, and it's part of the bucket list. Is I've been spending the last 15 years working on my genealogy and have gotten a lot of the paperwork done. So a trip back to Italy so I can finish and get my dual citizenship. That's my combined bucket list in free time.
Oh,
to do.
awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Frank. Yeah, that brought to mind some of my free time, me time work. I'm working on my dad's memoirs, and he he wrote, he was so cute. He didn't know systems quite well. He would type up a page in a like a Word doc or something, print the page, and then he would delete the document. No, it's okay. So what I do is I know how to scan it in and convert it to a Word doc, and then I can edit it and make it into a book and add the pictures. So, joke's on you, Dad.
So is there one more? Care to share about?
I can do one if you'd like.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff.
So I'll start with the bucket list. Is I'd like to give a live TED Talk on the main stage.
Wow.
And then for the free time, it would be sleep or more cool down period before sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I started the idea I'm going to go to bed at 10-ish last night, and I was well after midnight by the time I could even just collapse into bed, let alone have any kind of transition cool down period. And then for me time, it would be getting a massage, or if not that, having a good exercise.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so I'm not prescribing or anything, but if anybody needs help getting to sleep because you're so wound up, I had to put into practice a few things. One of is like Jeff, it's now 10-ish, but I'm usually in bed by 10:30. The problem was I wasn't falling asleep because then all the ideas would start rolling because they compounded from the day. I take passion flower tincture, and I also have a chewable L-theanine pill, which are both mind-calming natural products. Matt's real interested. I'll take pictures and I'll bring along Matt when we meet.
Please do. I take melatonin, which works 70% of the time. So
yeah. The one I used to do just passion and it wasn't enough, and then I use L-theanine, and actually I'm glad I didn't take it because sometimes I take it in before some sort of presentation where I want to calm myself down. I didn't take it today intentionally because I didn't want to be calmed down for you guys.
Excellent. So Gary, one of the last ideas, I'm going to throw out, and then we'll open it up for some questions possibly. You and I talked about that some of the stuff that you present to people in the boot camp and in this whole world that you're creating sometimes seem antithetical. And the example that I gave you is, a friend of mine in Dallas who years ago decided as a real estate agent, he wasn't going to show properties after 5 o'clock in the evening or on weekends. And so how do we identify and get past some of those self-limiting beliefs that we think we have to do it this way?
You blew me away when you told me that one. I was just like, okay, so first of all, let's stop and think about that. A real estate agent who doesn't show homes on the weekend and only works 9 to 5. Okay. Yeah. I have only one word for them, and he had the power of choice.
Right.
He just chose. Somebody asked me the other day, I was on a call with somebody and she said, "Oh, I'd really like to take Mondays off like you do. How did you do it?" I said, "Because I just chose it and I blocked it." And she's like, "That's it?" And I'm like, "Yeah. Your commitment will drive your actions." That guy's commitment, he was more committed to having his weekend free. But mind you, he's also committed to his business being successful. But what Dave didn't tell you, and he would if I'd give him a chance, but I'm not going to, is that that guy has a team of people who are the ones that are out there on the weekend. So remember, you don't have to do it all yourself. And part of what I do is I help people give away work, teach you how to prepare, find people to do the work, train them, hold them accountable so that you don't worry about them doing the work. He obviously doesn't worry about them. And how good is he at his job, Dave?
He's one of the top 5 producers in Dallas several years in a row.
There you go.
And, you know, the other part of that is some of the people that were on his team are now top producers themselves.
And soon they won't work on the weekend.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like
I love it.
You spread the love and you develop others, which I think is something that we're all committed to.
You know, I'll add to that, the reply to that, Dave, and that is that you really jolted me with that one. I thought I was always questioning what I'm doing, when I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And when you threw that one in, it just put me back and went, okay, what am I assuming I have to do? Like, I'm assuming I have to do X, Y, and Z. This guy doesn't work on weekends and he's a real estate agent. Question everything. I mean, not to the point of exhaustion, but certainly question it from the standpoint of your own personal satisfaction, your own personal, I'd like to say harmony, but, you know, peace.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we've got a few minutes left. So why don't we open it up for questions or comments? You know, we talked about bucket lists and what have you, but how about questions or comments that any of you may have for Garry?
Garry, when I started out, left corporate and started my own business or started coaching, this would have been really helpful back then as sort of a newly minted, you know, detaching from the mothership. And I didn't actually want to start. I wasn't interested in being a small business owner, but that's the vehicle, that's the structure it took to do coaching. And so it was kind of, and that's not uncommon. I think there's a lot of us, we want to do the work and we have to, you know, to structure it in a business. I knew nothing about this and about, you know, self-management, all those things. And so I could see this being especially helpful for someone who is thinking about or just now starting out in coaching on anything entrepreneurial, but especially coaches.
Yeah. And you know, you touched on a good point too that I've recently been adding to my conversation, and that is that we're now available 24/7, and we're starting to feel the pressure of being available 24/7.
Yeah.
So it's even more important that we define our limits, define our availability. Yeah. And the interesting thing is, nobody really knows what your availability is or isn't. You could just as easily be coaching a client at 10 at night as sleeping. Well, except for Jeff, he's still unwinding until about midnight. So, but yeah, like all this online stuff has made the world think that everything and everyone is available 24/7, especially us business people. So now more than ever, it's important for us to take a look at where are we trying to accommodate people when we really don't have to.
You know, it's a great comment you just made. For those of you who don't have your Facebook business page set up, when you go to set it up on Facebook as a business, it forces you to choose your hours. And for those of us who are using a loose hour system, it's really an interesting dialogue in your head to say, I don't want to work those hours. I'm not going to offer them. But it means you're committing to that moment to say, I'm not working a Sunday, so no, I'm not available for those groups who may access you through Facebook before they get to your site. So it's actually a great exercise, exactly what you were just saying.
Mm-hmm. And thank you. On top of that, I just brought somebody on my team who is a concierge, and part of her duties is to monitor the Facebook for posts when I'm not working. Well, quite frankly, all the time, because I don't, as much as I love to be on Facebook, that's not what I should be doing. And she's going to gather responses and questions, and we're setting it up as a structure that will routinely engage people in it and gather details that will enhance our program and our delivery.
Is a concierge different from a virtual assistant?
No, just a name.
Oh, it's just, it's just.
Well, to bring it to a normal wording, she's a customer service person. So her job is to make the client, the student, if you will, the student's experience amazing, have an amazing student experience. And so we call her a concierge because, a lot of these high-end hotels have concierges, and they get you a car, they get you dinner engagements, they get you a hooker, whatever you need, right? And so I decided I'm unconventional. If you look at my business card, I'm a CSO, Chief Schmoozing Officer. The names are all made up anyway, so make up one that empowers you, or that. I didn't think anybody read those business cards, and everybody stops. And for some reason, that seems to catch their attention more than anything else. Chief Schmoozing Officer. Me, the shy, quiet, introverted, non-competitive me.
It's accurate.
So we have time for maybe 1, 2 at the very most questions, and then we'll send it back to you, Harry.
And maybe we're sending it back to Harry early.
Yeah, you send it back to me like you were throwing a football with the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, we can pick another team, but yeah.
Oh,
okay. I would like to mention a person I admire greatly, Arianna Huffington. And several years ago, because she fell down and broke her jaw on her desk because she was managing 3 things at one time, it woke her up and she realized that she was going down fast. And she looked around her bedroom and she had about 10 things plugged in that were blinking, and she couldn't go to sleep at night. So I don't know what Jeff Moore's bedroom looks like, but she would be texting while she was talking to her daughters, and her mother screamed at her and threw the thing in the wastebasket or something. So she's quit her job, and she's working on this idea about our own self-care and what we're doing to take care of ourselves. And the first thing she did was unplug at night. That seems like a simple solution, but you mentioned that. Who told us that we were available 24/7?
I brought that up.
Where did that come from? Yeah, you said that we are, and we are, and we've all kind of agreed to it, because we don't seem to have any choice. Yes. So thank you for a great call. You're so Canadian. You're quiet, reserved, and nice.
Shy.
Yes, you fit the stereotype.